we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Good morning, lifeboat crew. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and this is Plan B. This is the lifeboat. This is going to be a fun one, because I don't have a clue what we're going to talk about. Let me tell you a story. So, hey, squirrel, come here. So today was the first day that Johnny Scoville was going to do the lifeboat. Brandon Galloway, good to see you. Scoob, glad you're here. Full of Hope, Monk, Lemmy, Ultra, Mag, Charlie, Murphy. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I also saw Dennis. Good to see you all. Today is Guy. Good to see you. Today was the first day of the Johnny Scoville official, I am going to stop in and host the lifeboat. And sadly, the ability to make that happen didn't happen. I do not blame Johnny Scoville for this. I blame this on whatever happened yesterday in the world with a very large solar flare that hit our world. Yesterday, according to my bobble-headed partner, Mark Wages, we had an unbelievable size flare that hit planet Earth. In doing so, it screwed up everything. Scoob, good to see you. It screwed up everything having to do with the internet all over the world. Heather Joy last night had reached out to me right before probably about 3 o'clock and said, is there any chance you could take tonight? And not exactly how the conversation went down. What she said was that she was having trouble. And I said, why don't you just let me go tonight? I seem to be doing pretty well with my internet connection. She was not. So few other people around the world are doing well with their internet connection. For whatever reason, we seem to be doing really well here in Nevada. It was tough to get this live feed started. I tried to get this thing to load up at the normal 4:30 because Johnny had already let me know that he was having some serious trouble. So he gave me all kinds of times notice. I came down here at 4:30 and tried to get this loaded. I feel fortunate as heck that we're here because I literally tried to put this through about 15 times and it just wouldn't. Good morning, Virginia. Good to see you, hon. Full of hope. Glad you're here. It was one of those mornings that just didn't want to accept the live feed. Now, admittedly, I don't have a lot to talk about. That's never really been a problem for us because the important part of the lifeboat is not Tommy Scoville. It's the, or Heather, or for that matter, Johnny or anybody else. The important part of the lifeboat is that everybody comes here and has the ability to hang out. So we're going to do some hanging out. My internet was wonky yesterday also. Todd, boy, the number of people who had wonky internet yesterday. Come on, don't step on the keyboard. Sorry. Squirrel would like to short circuit this if she could. She's in a bit of a mood. All right, that's my girl. There you go. Just do what you do. So here we are, and we're live anyway. And that's the nature of the lifeboat, is that we're always going to make it happen. Look at that. My cat is glowing. Come on, right down the arm, right into the basket. You got this. Good girl. Good. No, not such a good girl, apparently. She's going to try to disassemble this today. She's not having it, but we're here and we're live, and that's what's important. So, Plan B, right? That moving back and forth. That squirrel chewing on the equipment. She is just on one this morning. But Plan B is almost a message in and of itself, isn't it? Think about it. So often the greatest laid plans of mice and men often go awry, and that is not just the nature of a YouTube channel. That's the nature of sobriety in general. We're going to plan the. I wish you could see her. We're going to plan what we do, and we're going to come up with the greatest of plans. This happens quite often when we try things for the first time in sobriety. The first time we go out and say, you know what, I'm very secure in my sobriety, and I'm going to a family function, or I'm going to. You want to play with that? Come here, look at that. Yeah, go get it. Get it. The first time we plan to go out and we're going to go see family. We're going to do. We have this plan of stepping outside our comfort zone as sober people, and we're going to go and put ourselves into a situation that makes us a little bit uncomfortable. We get prepared. We lay out the best game plan, and we get there, and all of a sudden things just aren't what we thought they were going to be. If this has not happened to you yet, trust me, my brothers and sisters, it will. You will find yourself in a position where all of a sudden, where you felt very confident and very secure in what you were about to do, all of a sudden everything unravels, and you find yourself realizing that, does she have white in her fur? If not, she's a tortoise shell then. She is absolutely a tortie. She has no white. You're seeing some special effects when she stands up on the shoulder here. There is absolutely no white whatsoever in my tortie. She is full-blown tortoiseshell. And boy, you can't tell by the tortitude. This cat is, there you go, good girl. She's pure tortoiseshell. But these events happen often in sobriety. And these events are going to happen 2 years sober, 3 years sober, 5 years sober, where all of a sudden you think you've got everything under control, like my lighting situation. And all of a sudden, the plans get completely discombobulated, and all of a sudden you got to wing it. You have to sort of go on the fly. Jerry Armitage, good to see you, my friend. Glad that you're here. You find yourself having to make adjustments on the fly. Again, this is harkens back to something that I talked about last night, and that's having a plan in sobriety. Plan for the unexpected. Plan for the things that are going to come up, that are going to leave you in a situation other than what you're comfortable with. What do you do? Because I assure you, if the first time that the idea of I need a plan B, if that comes up and you don't have that plan, very often this puts us in very serious trouble. There's a person on the lifeboat whose name shall remain anonymous, whose substance of choice is alcohol. And they went to a celebration recently, and they talked about it with me ahead of time. They told me what was going to happen. They knew there was going to be people there drinking. They asked for prayers, and we discussed the situation. And I got a phone call from this individual, and they said, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And it's hell. Everybody here is drinking. They're all getting loaded. I feel ridiculous not having a drink in my hand. And we sort of started to walk through the plan B. Sadly, it didn't work, and that's going to happen from time to time. On the bright side, this person dusted themselves off, but this ended up being too much of a temptation and too much of an issue that left them feeling like they weren't capable of getting through the overwhelming stimuli. And that's one of the things that is will. Oh, that's it. Bite me. Now she's chewing on me. We're in good shape. That's one of those things that when that overwhelming stimulus comes on, where all of a sudden everything around you is bombarding you. I can't stress enough how much your brain wants to get to a base level. Your brain wants to get back to what it understands best. And sadly, for a lot of us, what our brain understands best is that when the going get tough, the tough get inebriated. When things get uncomfortable, we sedate ourselves or we stimulate ourselves. It doesn't really matter whether you're somebody that goes up or down the base level, getting back to that feeling of this is how I need to feel. Your brain is going to get back to its default setting, and it's going to do it by the path of least resistance. And more often than not, that is going to mean, Todd, I assume you're laughing because the cat is chewing on me like I'm a chew toy. She's a handful, my tortoise shell cat. My first few months of sobriety, I thought I had it down. I went to a family function where they were drinking, and it was scary. I was white knuckling it. It was fight or flight, and I had to fly. Good for you. Good for you. Honest to God in heaven. I don't know that I would have used fight or flight as an example, but I was going to say almost word for word what you did. There are going to be times where the plan B isn't in it's not what you originally came up with. If it's so overwhelming and you say to yourself, if this gets overwhelming, I'm going to call Tommy. If this gets overwhelming, I'm going to reach out to somebody in my 5. If this gets overwhelming, I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden it's like, you feel that. It's a great description, MAGA. It's fight or flight. You get that feeling where all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I feel that. I'm close to 90 days, no alcohol, but yesterday really tested me. Well, I'm proud of you. If you got through yesterday's test sober, that is a feather in your cap. Every time we overcome one of those situations where it was a test, you need to take time to not only write about that, because it's huge. Get out your journal and start writing. But I don't think enough can be said for what happens to you when you find yourself in an overwhelming situation, one that feels like there's just no way on God's green earth I'm getting out of this. And you do. Those things cement you in place. I've told the story many times on the boat, but I was with, I had been working with Q a great deal. And actually, you know what? I have told the story many times on the lifeboat, but all of a sudden dope hit the unit and the unit was flooded with it. And everywhere I looked, there was somebody nodding out. And I remember running to Q's cell and hanging out with him. And I just kept saying, oh man, thank God that you're here. You know what I mean? Thank God you're here. And his response was, I'm not always going to be here. You're going to get shipped off of this yard. The closer you get to the time that you are supposed to go home, the more that the BOP, Bureau of Prisons, is going to plan to send you someplace else. And I said, that's great. But I got through today, and I remember the first time I was at the last prison I was at was in Oregon, a place called Sheridan. And I was on the yard at Sheridan, Oregon, and it was almost the exact same situation. I had gone to rec. I went outside. I did my drug class, and it was a beautiful day. So we were outside, and we used to go on these bleachers that overlook the ball field. And the bleachers were packed, and I was standing in front of the bleachers and walking back and forth and doing, for all intents and purposes, a lifeboat, where I was talking to people about the things that I had learned from Q. And I was rock solid in my sobriety. I knew that nothing was going to get in my way. I had no fear. I was where I needed to be. And I talked to these guys for about an hour, and then I walked for 3. And when I went back into the unit, I walked inside. And when you went into the unit, you went up a flight of stairs. They were 8 steps. And then you could go to the left. And that's how you would get to the cells. And they were on a lower tier and a top tier. And there's 3 different levels, kind of look like an M.C. Escher painting, the stairs going to everywhere. But on that first floor, I was the very first cell on the left-hand side. And as I got up to walk into my cell, I looked out, and to the left is the day room. And it's a lower tier with 3 or 4 television sets that are set up in the front. Everybody listens to the television through headphones. That way, 5 people can watch different channels in the same room without people arguing over volume. You put earbuds in, you click to a certain channel through your radio. And I looked out, and half of the room was like this. And I'm not exaggerating. Half of the room. Just, we're all nodding. And my drug of choice is very easy to spot, especially when you talk about people that haven't been doing the drug on a daily basis. When that kicks in, I'm looking out there and the whole room is like this. And I remember that feeling of, oh Lord, I'm in trouble. There was nowhere to run, but I did exactly what Maga did. I went in my cell, I shut the door, I put up the curtain, the one that you use when you're going to the bathroom, and people write on it. It's a piece of cardboard that goes in the window, but you write, pooping or whatever on the outside of it. And I put that up there almost to hide. And I did it until a cop came by and said, hey, that flap's been up. I said, oh, I forgot it was, and I pulled it down, but I stayed on the bed and I read, and I didn't leave the cell. And when the sun came up the following day, I said, I'm not going to go to breakfast. And I sat in there and I prayed and I journaled, and I hid for a while. And I remember afterwards feeling like I ran from a challenge, which was the stupidest concept in the world, but you're always looking for a way to short circuit your own success. Running was the right move at that time. Jerry says, I think that the hardest thing is dealing with boredom. This is really a pretty important comment. Boredom, and we've done shows on this before. Boredom is the absolute number one threat to sobriety, and it's why that I stress so much on having a routine of things that you do all the time. I do the same things every single day, and the reason I do is it keeps me. Tommy Bird, great to see you. It keeps me from sitting down, looking around, and thinking I've got nothing to do. If I have nothing to do and I have time on my hands, I will end up bored. And when I end up bored, I'm in danger. That for me is a very, very dangerous time. And I hear this all of the time from people in recovery. Try to not have downtime. That's why I tend to repeat myself over and over and over again. And the reason is sobriety is not 6,000 things you do to remain sober. It feels like that in the beginning because so many things come up that you go, oh man, this challenge is so, but I do the exact same things over and over and over again. Walking is something that I do when I'm in trouble constantly, because when I'm outside and I'm walking, there isn't boredom, because the things you see keep changing and all of your senses keep getting bombarded, new smells, new sights, new sounds. I spend a tremendous amount of time walking if I find myself feeling like I shouldn't be sitting on my butt doing nothing. Working on watches. I have my life structured in such a way that there is very little, boredom equals complacency, and complacency equals you're on the wrong path. When I start finding myself with too much time on my hands, I'm screwing up. The lifeboat is a blessing in a very big way to me because of the number of people that I deal with every day trying to help. I'm constantly engaged. I'm constantly talking about sobriety, working with people. But more importantly than all of that is the fact that I remain busy. I make music, my own music, playing everything myself. I learned how to record, mix, master, all from YouTube. Keeps me busy. Jerry, awesome. He's talking about a hobby. Hobbies are one of the greatest tools in the world for remaining sober. I get complacency. I get on my knees. I know where it leads. Absolutely. Great advice. Full of hope. Great advice. If you are very in tune with your higher power, it's one of the fastest ways to get out of any situation like that. And I'm not telling anybody how to live, but it's surely a absolute go-to for me. And I do it very often while I'm walking. I do it very often while I'm working on watches. I spend a tremendous amount of time talking to my higher power. An unbelievable amount of time talking to my higher power. I can't feel bored while doing that. I can't. Boredom to me, and maybe this is different for everybody, but boredom to me is when my brain does not have something to actively be doing. So if I'm sitting on the couch and there's a television program on and I can't watch a television program. I can listen to one, and I find myself doing this. If people are watching a film or whatever, I will go in the room and my eyes will avert from the television and I will listen to whatever people are watching. Because of my brain issue, the fast editing will give me a migraine in a matter of minutes. So, but I will sit down and try to be social and hang out. And because you're not technically watching it, it's very easy for my brain to start wandering. If my brain's wandering, I'm in a bad place. And I know that may sound like it's daunting, but keeping yourself engaged in one thing or another really, really is a great weapon. My grandkids were always my hobbies. Now they are older and I don't see them as much, that they are on their journeys. Virginia, that is an amazing opportunity to create something to fill that void. And what I mean by that is there are people for whom, when you get to that phase of life, that volunteering starts to become something huge. I know you are really engaged with a lot of people on the lifeboat. And I can't tell you that, when people say to me, how big is your family? I almost chuckle. I get that all the time. How many brothers and sisters do you have? Hundreds. I have so many brothers and sisters. It's ridiculous. Oh, by birth, 3 other than me. But I have become engaged in so many people's lives. If this doesn't hammer home and hit out of the park the concept of the opposite of addiction is connection, when and everybody on the lifeboat loves you, hon. I promise you. That's a fact. But when you start to connect with people, and the internet is an amazing way to do exactly that. On a daily basis, I usually converse with people on at least 3 continents. There are times that it's more than that, but every single day I'm talking to people all over the world about what it takes to remain active, to remain engaged, to remain sober. This is the driving force and the goal behind everything that I do in life. I make a very big deal over watching the sun come up. It's one of those things that is really a huge thing for me. Been clean from oxys now for over 10 years. Now it was easy for me because of my son being born. But if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be. I also drank every day back then. You know what? There are a lot of people who step off of drugs with the use of other drugs. It's really pretty common that if our substance of choice is cocaine, a lot of people drink for a while when they first quit, because it gives you an opportunity to get off of the chemical you're on in almost a step down process. In the real world, in the world of rehabilitation, people will crap all over that. I don't recommend it. Like, if people come in and say, I'm trying to get sober, I say, great, let's get you sober. I never say, maybe you should take up drinking for a while. It's a horrendous piece of advice. However, almost everybody does something. I became addicted to working out. That was, I was in incarcerated, which made life very easy. I didn't have the opportunity to have access to all of these different things every single day. Sunrise instead of sunset. There's something poetic about that. Thank you. Um, Thank you. The sunrise for me is it's symbolic in many ways because it's as the sun comes up over the mountain, it is a new day. Any of the things that I struggled with the following day, I mean the previous day, are gone. When I see the light and the sun come up over the hills, every single day is an opportunity to do better than I did the day before. And that may sound like psychobabble, and it may sound like those things, but it absolutely is a stone cold fact. Each time that sun rises, I have an opportunity to do a little better for me than I did the day before. And that can mean with interactions with people on the lifeboat, that can mean spreading the word, which is a very big part of my life these days. But whatever your focus is, you get a new shot every single day. And everybody gets a new day. But if you watch that new day come up, if you watch that sun come over the mountain, and for me, I missed so many of those sunrises. I would, if you just happen to be lucky enough to be on the side of a institution where you can watch that sun come up, well, that's a beautiful thing. You can look out the window, you can see it happen. You got to, at best, you might have a 50-50 chance. Sometimes the way that the prison is designed, you don't even have that. There may be 10% of the cells that actually can watch the sun come up. For the entire time I was in prison, I probably spent maybe 10% of it with the ability to see the sun come up. And I would say to whoever I was living with every single day, when I get out, I'm not missing any more sunrises. And I really do everything within my power to make sure that that doesn't happen. I do everything in my power to make sure that I am out there every single morning to see the sun come up over the mountain. And it has been cathartic for me in a very big way. My son always sent me beautiful sunrise photos as he drove to work while I was in the hospital. What a beautiful thing, Virginia. What a great memory. You know what I mean? What a beautiful memory and a blessing. That's I'm telling you, I can't put into words just how much that means to me. Hey, Scoob, you know what? If you hate New York, you have the ability to leave it. I promise you. I promise you. Send me an email. We'll have a long conversation about that, because I spent a lot of my life saying, you know what, I hate where I live. If you don't love where you live, move. One of the reasons that I'm leaving Reno is I drove home one day and my mother was sitting in the living room, and I walked in and I said, how do you feel about where we live? As I've told the boat many times, the last thing I said to my father, the last thing he asked of me was that I take care of my mom, that I made sure that she was never alone. I gave him my word. And these days I don't break my word for anything. I don't. So I'm going to be living with my mom. I will take care of her until she no longer needs to be taken care of. And I walked in and I just said, are you really happy here? And she said, I don't know. What are you thinking? I said, I don't care. Florida, Arizona, someplace warmer, but let's go somewhere where we're happy. Let's go somewhere where everything is a new experience and everything is great. Because I'm not particularly happy. And I mean, my life is complete. I'm very happy with it, but I drive down the street and I go, I robbed that place. And then I drive down the street and I go, I robbed that place. And then I drive down the street and I said, I watched a guy overdose on dope in that parking lot. It took me 45 minutes to bring him back from the dead. And then I go to the next parking lot. I got handcuffed in that parking lot. And then I get to the next one. And the entire city is that way. When Heather Joy came and visited me, we were on the second of the top floor, I think. We were way up high in a high-rise building in downtown Reno. And I took her to the window and I just started pointing to places. And I said, that bar was owned by a gangster. And the two of us used to go in there while I would wait on dope. And I just pointed to all of these things in the city. I got arrested over there. I got arrested over there. I probably got arrested 30 times in this city. And as happy as I am, I see no point in not being a little happier. I'm looking forward to going to a place where there is not a drug memory on any street. There is no memory of being arrested on any street. There's no memory of anything negative. And I am more excited about that than I can put into words. My ex and I left for work in two directions. Inevitably, here I would phone saying, "You see it? Man, yes, it's beautiful. Sunrise." That is very cool. That is very cool. I love that. Can't live with my mom either, or I'd wake up, go outside and be like, I've been to 3 funerals there, looking across the street. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Scoop. It's exactly what I'm talking about. For me, the ability to go someplace where there is no memory is so enticing, I can't explain it. And the other thing too is when you see where, the house that I picked out is very much designed with the boat. You will see it is very much a place that it's perfect. You'll see what I'm talking about when I get there. I'm okay where I'm at right now in California. I make the best out of being in California, but I really do want to move to Arizona or Texas. Ultramaga, I get it. And there's a reason that your state is losing people at a rate that no other state in the union has ever experienced. Just had my foot amputated around Christmas, spent 2 months in the hospital, and that was my biggest test. But instead I said, someone always has it worse. This will not break me. Positive, positive, positive. Jerry, good Lord, what a great comment. My dad used to say, it was one of his favorite expressions, I cried because I had no shoes until I saw a man who had no feet. Your attitude is amazing. Your attitude is unbelievable. And I swear to you, whether you believe this or not, it is so inspirational to me. I can't explain it. I mean that. I'm so glad Johnny didn't host the lifeboat this morning. That is something I needed to hear. True story. That's something I needed to hear. God bless you, man. For real. God bless you. Jerry, I'm so proud of you. I don't even know how to put it into words. I'm struggling to find them, which is not something I struggle with, but I'm really struggling to find the words to tell you how amazing I think that is. Thank you. I hope everybody else caught that. That really is just absolutely amazing. You're making all the right moves, Tommy. You deserve a bit more happiness. You bring all of us a bit on a daily basis. Random toaster. What a cool thing to say, man. Honestly, what a beautiful, beautiful thing to say. Thank you. That's awesome. I got into a fight with my wife's stepdad the other night because he kicked her mom out and showed up here drunk, threatening people with a gun and such. I put him down 3 times, but he just kept getting up. You know what, Tommy? I can't imagine how hard that was. What a feather in your cap to get through that sober. That's really amazing stuff. You know what? God bless you, man. For real. That is not an easy thing. I can't imagine it. And I'm being just really honest. I can't imagine that. But thank God and hats off to you, man. That's really a struggle to get through something like that. You did amazing. The fact that the sun came up this morning and you're sober through that is, that's the kind of thing where, as I said earlier in the show, when you overcome something like this, the armor that you have in your sobriety and in your life just gets thicker. It gets thicker and it gets thicker. And those things, one of the reasons that journaling for me is such a huge thing is if I overcome something like that and I journal about it, when something else comes up, it's like, Jerry getting through the amputation, you get through something like that and then something else comes up and you're like, are you kidding? Or Jerry or again, exactly what Tommy was just saying, and have my father-in-law come over here loaded with a gun, right? Acting like an ass. I got through that. I kept having to knock the dude down. The dude kept getting back. I got through that. It makes you begin to feel, I don't want to, not cocky and not bulletproof or any of that, but certainly stronger in your ability to take whatever's going to come down the pike and absolutely cope with it and deal with it. Man, that's great. It really is. God bless you. Well, Scoop, I'm glad that this is something that you're thinking about and talking about. That's good. Yeah, but now I feel terrible because no one has talked to him or seen him since. I just hope he's okay because I hit him pretty hard. You know what, Tommy? There are times, God forgive me, but there are times people need to get hit. And what would have happened if you didn't? You know what I mean? This is a guy with a gun. This is a drunk guy with a gun. You know, the fact that nobody got shot is a just, you know, grace of God and you keeping your head. That's pretty amazing stuff. It really is. Crazy Cat. Hey, good to see you. Really good to see you. Tom, good to see you. Tom H, good to see you. And I'm going to say a prayer that your father-in-law is okay, and that when the reason that you're not seeing him is because he needs to come to grips with what he's done. I was pretty famous for disappearing after doing something really stupid. Money is my biggest issue. Lost my job and been doing Amazon Flex 3 days a week to survive. You know, Lemmy, you've listed the number one reason that people give for relapse. Most people talk about exactly that when they start talking about what drives most people back. It is a very, very strong motivator. But the fact that you're out and you're doing something and you're trying to take care of it is a step in the right direction, to be sure. Just stay the course, and please reach out if you start feeling like it's getting overwhelming. Please. These days are crazy. People getting shot for using a leaf blower or just knocking on the wrong door. Stay safe. Great. And he's absolutely right. We're living in a world right now where it is just absolutely bizarre how dangerous it is. Tommy, you did the right thing. It probably doesn't feel like it, but you did the right thing. And that's, 90% of the battle, I think, is doing the right thing. Hey, Buddha. Good to see you, my brother. Appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate the prayers of all of you. Can't tell you what it does for me. Yesterday, we were able to talk to Eli, my friend, who's he's going for a biopsy at Stanford University, and the cancer is very near his spinal cord, and he's terrified. He's just very open with me about it. And as I said, he's been living with this forever. He's had it almost his entire life, but he's been able to keep his head in the game, which I think is kind of amazing. But I showed him a message where somebody had just written his name and the number 1, and I explained to him the prayer thing, and it was this is something that brought tears to his eyes. So for those of you praying for Eli, I appreciate it. He still absolutely needs more of them. Todd says, I don't advocate I don't advocate violence, for the record. We all probably needed it, smacked whenever at some point in our lives. And it's I'm glad that you said that, because I didn't probably articulate that as well as I should. I don't advocate for it anymore either. But there's absolutely times, I saw a thing the other day where they were interviewing some pretty famous people. And it was one of those adversarial kind of situations where they were just trying to get people angry. And there's a lot of that goes on, sort of ambush television, or ambush, whatever you want to call it these days, because a lot of them are podcasts. But there was a guy that said, how about walking me through the thou shalt not kill thing? And the guy was making reference to military stuff and this and that. And he said, I don't blame the people at King James, but there are 2 words, right, for killing in the original language. Just like we have the word murder and we have the word kill, right? They're 2 different words, right? And there's reasons for that. And, there are times it's a horrendous thing, but there are times where we don't murder animals. There's a lot of people that are vegans and vegetarians. They feel as if we do, but murder is killing in anger. It's unrighteous killing. If you're protecting your child from a lunatic, right, that's justified. And I'm not advocating that either, but trust and believe. I'll kill an army of people who go after my daughter or my son. If that's their intent, I would do that, and I would do it probably with very little remorse. I carry usually when filming. Had to draw my pew pew on a guy coming at me with a hammer. Thank God he dropped the hammer and stopped charging at me. You know what? It's amazing how well the appearance of the pew pew has that effect. And then I'm with you. Thank God that you didn't have to use it, because that would have just been awful. But thank God you had it. You know, a lot of times just having it is enough. Thou shalt not murder is the correct translation. It really is. That is exactly what the correct translation is. And I don't blame the people that, translated it poorly. That was a pretty tough time back in the day, but that is absolutely the correct translation. In my younger years, I would tell you what the word is in the original language, because I knew what it was in Hebrew, but I don't remember it anymore. I'm getting old. My knuckle is clearly tilted toward my ring finger. People, have you ever seen my hands? How about that finger? Look at the way that one turns. Can you see that? So the fingernail is at an angle like this. This one got snapped this way, and it never came back. So that is my finger straight. That's my fingernail pointing at 12 o'clock. So if I put my hand like this, my fingernail is pointing at 3 o'clock. Just really, and both of my hands are just awful. I agree, Tommy. If somebody touched my son, I would look them in the eyes while I strangle the life out of them with zero remorse. And I get that. I really do. I get that. I absolutely get that. There are certain times when all bets are off, so to speak. People, I have pushed this one literally as far as I can push it and still make it outside to watch the sun come over that mountain. And I've tried to hang on here as long as I could because it was so late getting on starting it. But I am going to have to. Scooby, my pinky is tilted out like a duck now. I think we all have a little of that. Tommy, pointing your finger at us, look like that USA poster. That's right. Uncle Tommy needs you to stay sober and stay connected. All right, peeps. I love each and every one of you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for spending your morning with me. And to Johnny Scoville, get better on the computer. I'm kidding. It's not his fault. Hey, love you, Buddha. Enjoy your day. And never forget me when you're checking the time. This right here, people, is a cat in a basket. And if you look at her eyes just right, you can see the city behind her. Who's a good girl? In spite of the fact that you started off the day by chewing on my fingers while everybody watched. All right, people, have a great day. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. You know what? Make it a great day. You have that. You do. Make it a great day. God bless to all of the countries that are here right now. All right? And I will talk to you.